All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and she is back once again. It's been a while, but Kelly Slaughter, she is awesome and she is back. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, the workout training. I guess you're doing pretty well on those little trainings. So, how's that been going?
Yes, it's been going great. So last year, I had a different training program that I followed. It was like specific from Spartan, which is the brand of OCR that I run the most. And this year I changed it up a little bit. I'm doing a lot more weightlifting, like straight, like traditional weight training. And then I normally do 2 days of cardio. So it's 4 days of weights and then 2 days of cardio. And so when I get close to race time to up my endurance, I just do more cardio.
I mean, a lot of that cardio, but I guess a lot of that strength just makes it more to you can withstand a lot of the cardio stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from all the fitness stuff that I do anyway, I've got pretty good endurance and my cardio health is really good. It's high. So it's more the endurance part of it. Like, I'm going, so I actually have a race coming up in a few days and called a super. So it's a 10K, which is a little over 6 miles. But it's Spartan miles. So it's
Got to be a
probably
lot.
more like 8 miles instead of six. So it's just, making sure that I can do that plus the obstacles on top of it.
Yeah. Then you do like some type of obstacle where you went from the other state or something. Like, what was that place called?
Um, let's see. I've done them in South Carolina, North
Yeah,
Carolina,
that one right there.
Georgia. I pretty much have only been in like the South. I really haven't gone much further than the Carolinas and Georgia.
I mean, yeah, but the one that was like connected to North and South Carolina, you had that type of training where you went all the way down there.
Oh, the training so yeah. So I live in a suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina, but I'm in South Carolina because Charlotte's right on the border of North and South Carolina. And so one of the trainings that I did, it was a trail run on a trail that went right over the border. So there's like that one bridge that I took a picture where one side's North Carolina, one side South Carolina, and I'm standing like this because I'm in two states at once.
Yeah, you're just like in the middle of it. So it's like,
Yeah.
but is it like a lot of miles out of it, or how many miles does it go from over there?
I'm not sure that trail in particular how far it was, but we did 3 miles that day.
No, not bad. I mean, at
In
least
the
you're
rain.
working in the rain. It's not
In the
too bad, but
rain.
there's a lot of it. Like for certain like individuals like myself, it's like I had to find ways to be in better shape. But I guess the way I done my type of workout is just working, like standing around and just walking through the heat and all that. And actually, I kind of changed a little bit of my diet a little bit. So, like, I've tried the Jamba Juice with the green gingers or something. It's supposed to burn a lot of fat into it.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be really good. And then been eating a lot of the salads and all that stuff. And I guess maybe the drastic change is partly because I've been eating less. And I guess, like you said, if you don't eat breakfast as much, more than likely you'll probably lose a lot of weight.
Yeah, that's a one way to do it is intermittent fasting, where you only have a certain window where you eat. So hi, butterfly.
Yeah, butterfly. I guess quite a few other people have been coming around, but not so much. But I think quite a few of your followers will come around. But yeah, the changing of the diet, it really depends on how you get accustomed to it. Because when I do this type of stuff, it's not even like anything to do with workout related. It's a lot to do with the job where if I
Hmm.
walk so much, my feet feel like beat and I can't even move it those next few days. I try to suck it up but then I see different results where I'm just losing some weight like insane. So it's like, man, how am I losing weight when I'm just doing my job and just walking? I guess it just has to do with the cardio a little bit.
Yeah, and you're burning calories too, just standing rather than sitting. That's why a lot of times people say to take baby steps when it comes to like starting your fitness journey, where, stand up more or when you park your car at the grocery store to park farther away. So then you're walking a little bit more to the store and things like that. But yeah, definitely moving around, especially if you come from a more sedentary that lifestyle, and then you start this job where you're running around a lot, you're definitely gonna lose because you're burning calories and upping your metabolism and all of that. So
Yeah, and then a lot of the routine has changed a little bit, so it's like I don't know. It's just there's days I don't even feel like eating much because of the way how the calories is for my workout. But the difference of what I felt then was I kind of went from this lazy guy into like I'm just pushing a little harder, but then I'm just not at a full 100% with the health with the foot. I'm like, it feels like I'm kind of like getting used to it a little bit. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. You may even want to consider getting some insoles for your shoes.
I've been getting a couple of those shoes, those Skechers, but I guess adding some insoles into it is probably the better way to do it. But, like a lot of the workouts, a lot of the health and a lot of the balance, it's like just got to eat the right stuff, got to eat mostly the green stuff. That's pretty much what helps your health more.
Yeah. And, you don't even have to eat salad. Just like if you look at your plate and you're building your plate, or if you're at a restaurant and you're going to order something, you want most of your plate to be protein and then the rest of it to be like vegetables and fruit.
All that
Maybe
stuff.
throw a little bit of starch in there, like a potato or noodles or something like that. But you want the majority of it to be coming from protein because that's going to help satiate you and keep you satisfied and keep you feeling full. Protein and fat will do that.
Yeah.
So I used to do keto. I did keto for a really long time, probably about a year, and I dropped weight like that. And then as soon as I started, I would like look at a carb and I would gain weight, But I stopped doing keto and I started gaining weight back. But now I'm working on macros. So I count macros. So the weight comes down slower, but with increasing my workouts and yes, get some custom made orthotics.
Probably got to do
It's
it that way.
expensive. So I actually had an ankle injury and had to go to physical therapy. And they told me you can go and get the custom made orthotics. It's going to cost you a lot of money and it is going to be custom to you and your fit. She was like, but the insoles that you can buy in the store are pretty good. And so I just went on Amazon and she told me what to look for my specific needs. And that's what I look for. And so I started wearing insoles. I'm like, I'm an old lady getting orthotics.
No, but like, the thing about my foot is it has to do with the bad ankle too, because I had multiple surgeries out of it when I was playing the minor league football league. So I had this severe injury that kind of like, I guess I didn't even notice I had the injury until the next day because I was playing intense and playing through the pain. And I didn't even know. I thought I might have sprained it or something. And then I find out the next day I can't even move it. So I'm like, shoot. And I'm like, damn. And then everybody keeps saying you're playing too tough with these injuries. Sometimes it can haunt you for the long term. So I've been kind of like always a gutsy guy, but this has always been the setback when it comes to the winter. That's where I feel a lot of the pain most of the time. And it's not even like I even injured it or anything like that, but you got to have like some type of insoles or something into them, right?
Yeah. So if you've had surgery and stuff, then I would definitely look at more like of a custom orthotic because it will support. Yes. All the players have custom made.
Yeah. Mostly drinking a lot of water is always the better way to like always eat a ton of protein, but
water will help you feel full, but a lot of times if you're dehydrated, you become hungry when really you think you're hungry, but you're really just dehydrated. You need to drink water.
Yeah, there's the water is only good for certain parts, but there's been type of drink I've been able to like lower the blood pressure more, and it's kind of been like the way I made it homemade, but it's not too much sugar, it's very less. So I made this little Mexican drink called Jamaica. You make it homemade. It's supposed to help you reduce blood pressure and all that stuff, and it's kind of been giving me some more energy out of it.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. Good for sure. I drink so I drink my water bottle here, and I drink 3 to 4 of these a day. I drink 3 and I try to push myself, especially like the week or 2 before a race, to drink 4 because then that equals a gallon of water. But my very first bottle of water, I put electrolytes in it because
that's supposed to be good.
The first thing I do is go and work out, so I lose all of those electrolytes anyway. So that's the first thing I do is I start drinking water with electrolytes, and then I go work out. So
Yeah, electrolytes is always the one with the less sugar, and it's always very effective for the stuff you need.
yeah, this has zero sugar and a lot of it's sodium, potassium, and magnesium is what's in there.
Potassium is supposed to be good for when you move and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of these type of training regimens, we all find different ways to like adjust and do different type of stuff. And sometimes the stuff with no sugar, there's some that even taste like sugar, but it doesn't even have sugar. So that's like naturally in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice when you find something that doesn't taste really artificial and gross.
Yeah, I've tried different type of replacement food, which is Kachava. It's kind of giving me a little reviews, like a little bit of good stuff. It's made me eat less food, but not as like, not as active as I used to be with that type of stuff because I've been changing my diet a little bit. But that Kachava green stuff, whatever they had and the chocolate stuff, it kind of it replaces the food more, if anything else.
Mm.
So like that's just how I balance my diet, but it's kind of made me eat less food every now and then. So it's like maybe it's working, maybe it's just different adjustment, but when you have protein and all that other stuff, it's supposed to be good for you.
Yes. So I currently eat like almost like 2,300 calories a day because I work out so much. And because with macro counting, it's split. Like I have an exact amount of protein I need to eat, carbs and fat. And then I have a fiber goal that I make every day too. So if you work out a lot, you need more calories because you're burning so much and you need to fuel your body.
That's how I would do it sometimes. Like when I want to get some of that extra type of carbs and I'm going to walk more and do a bunch of this, more than likely I'm going to burn the calories. So it's, sometimes I just go with the ones with the less carbs. I'll try to get the flatbread pizza because it's not that bad. And then if I burn those calories, it's good enough. So like either I'll have a salad or I'll either have something different. So, but I guess if you just do more walking and all that other stuff and all the workout, it burns off the calories anyways.
Yes, and lifting weights, you actually burn more calories. You get a more calorie burn lifting weights than you do with cardio, and it's longer. Like you burn it throughout the day rather than just like whenever you've done that cardio.
Yeah, that's something to do with it. So I guess lifting weights kind of burns more of the calories than the cardio. So now I'm kind of getting. I thought you would just have to do more cardio to burn calories or all that. So it's just lifting weights more too.
Yeah, so I went from doing more cardio and less lifting, and now I do more lifting and less cardio. And I can definitely see like my body composition. I've lost like a little bit of like pounds on the scale, but I can tell like the way I look, how much my body composition is changing. I'm getting more muscular. I'm becoming more defined. Obviously there is fat loss there too, but I'm also gaining muscle. So
as long as you gain muscles, you'll be all right with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my wife does some type of lifting too, and she tells me that's the difference is doing the cardio is good, but she tells me you need to lift a little more weights like you used to. Like,
yeah,
I used to lift a lot of weights. I used to do a lot of bench presses where I would go with the lightest weight and I would try to like do like a set of 10 reps, but try to make sure I do like up to 100. And sometimes it kills my arms, but I try to make it more built at times. And then it kind of, I get a few days of rest and then I go back to that workout routine for something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I do bench press, I'll try to go with maybe like 25 of those pounds each and then try to do like each of them quickly, even though they're like lightweight, but the more you keep doing it, the more it gets heavier. Yeah. So
low weight, high reps.
Yeah. And then people always
heavy weight, low reps.
Yeah, people prefer doing the heavy lifting, but actually if you do the lower lifting, you get more reps out of it and it burns more of the stuff. But some people just think, it's lightweight. It's nothing. Actually, it helps more because you can burn more of it than actually lifting the heavyweights. Because if I wanted to, I probably would do the 225s, but it's not like I wouldn't be able to do like maybe more than 10 at times, But if I were to do a smaller weight, more than likely I'll do close to 100 reps with the lighter weights.
Right.
So that's always been the goal, hit over 100 reps on the smaller weights, do a 10 set of reps. And if I feel the need to increase the reps or add a little more weight, I'll keep it going. And that's how I do it.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of that kind of works in my favor. But I guess lately, since I work too much and I don't have that time like I used to, there's a little extra free time for me to hit the gym when I need to. So it's kind of been a good routine. But speaking of your routine, I think I've seen what you said recently, like a while ago, about this person's gimmick. I want to see what your thoughts is, because you called out her, she like her copying your dad's gimmick. I get that she's kind of like that so and so personality, but I guess in some ways I've seen an interview with your dad where he actually admires her, but doesn't feel like it was respectful the way she represented.
Yeah, I think he was asked by the WWE to come in and be her manager and to help put her over. And the contract didn't make sense to him, so he turned it down. So I think we all thought that was going to be the end of it. How can you do a Sergeant Slaughter thing if Sergeant Slaughter's not there? And they went through with it anyway. And I think that was a big slap in his face, slap in all of our faces. That's my family legacy.
And I think he just happens to disrespect it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, to me, it was disrespectful. And I know that, she's not, Lacey is being told what to do by creative. They're telling her to do this. And so I get that she really doesn't have a lot of input into what she's doing. But I think it would have been nice if she had reached out to my dad, to just say, hey, they want me to do this. I just want you to know. It's not even like she had to specifically ask for permission, but just to like let him know and get his thoughts on it. And my dad's a very generous guy, and he probably would have given her some tips on how to get over. And you know what I mean? Would have been like, absolutely go ahead, make it your own. But none of that happened. And so it was just kind of disrespectful all around, mostly from the WWE, I feel like. But I think I kind of, my anger and my mouth got the best of me. And I just went out and popped off and on Twitter, and it just kind of grew from there. But, I do realize that my dad didn't invent the military, and like he didn't invent, like he's not the first drill instructor to ever live. Like I get that, but that was his gimmick, and that's what he came up with. And it's the gimmick that he still uses
to this day.
And he still does the Cobra Clutch on people, and they pay a lot of money for him to do the Cobra Clutch on them. He has a coin. If you get a Cobra Clutch, you join the Cobra Clutch Club. So there's a coin that you get. And you know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's not using the gimmick anymore.
But he still does in some ways. I mean, he'll make his appearance, but I guess it's hard to get him on because he's got you have to contact his agent and all that stuff. That takes a while. And then,
yeah.
I don't know what the backtrack of his story is. I've heard that he was in the military, or I heard that he just played the character. I don't know which one it was.
So my dad, Robert Remus, was not in the military.
Okay.
The character that he came up with, Sergeant Slaughter, was a Marine.
Marine character, yep.
Yeah, he was a Marine. And so a lot of times my dad talks in character a lot, and so that's where this whole stolen valor thing came from. But I don't really stolen valor is a real thing. And I feel like going after my dad for having a gimmick and calling that stolen valor is kind of I feel like it takes away from the seriousness of stolen valor. I know a girl who was married to a man. When they got married, it was like a military wedding. He was all dressed up in his dress. I'm not military, so I don't know what it's called, but the dress uniform, not the casual one, but the dress one. He had pins and ribbons and all sorts of thing, had a nice wedding and all of that. And then they went to go buy a house together and went to get a VA loan. And that's when she found out he'd never been in the military. He'd never served a day in his life. And I'm like, those are the kind of people that steal valor. Like the kind of people that get dressed up and go to a restaurant on Veterans Day to get a free meal. Like that's stealing
That's a
valor.
disrespectful right there. Yeah, that is a disrespectful, because if you didn't serve the country, then why are you doing that? Like, like my dad, he served in the military and he always gets into the VA every now and then. But, since he's in a better place, everything comes for all those people who earn the right. There's a lot of these militaries in real life that have struggles with incomes. And then there's some of them that kind of had that traumatized, of the wars and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's kind of like how it is. But I mean, for some people, when you serve in the military, you're serving with honor to the country. You're signing the agreement that you're putting your body on the line. You're just gonna do whatever it takes to save this country. So that's what they call us heroes, but they don't get enough recognition for that type of stuff they put out there. It's always been the other people, the law enforcement, the other category people, but nobody's ever talk a lot about the military sometimes. Don't you feel like they're the most underappreciated workers in the world?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. A lot of them do go into careers like law enforcement.
Yeah, some of them do.
But if I met the Ultimate Warrior, I think I did, but I don't remember. I think it was just this is, Ultimate Warrior, and it was like, oh, hello, how are you? I don't really remember.
That dude was intense. He was an intense competitor.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, there's quite a few good wrestlers I've had a lot of interaction with, and they would tell me a lot of stories about Ultimate Warrior and quite a few other guys. And then mostly your dad, they would talk about, say, oh, yeah, this guy was a good character.
Mm-hmm.
But, like when you look at it this way, they're like the military alone, like they do have that transition to the police force or security or any other jobs out there. But there's some of them that don't even get a fair chance to work somewhere because of what happened, or they're disabled, this and that. They do get underappreciated. But for those one guys that you're talking about, the ones that dress up to be fake militaries and all that stuff, yeah, that is a slap in the face. You're impersonating what they are and all that stuff. So it comes with like, I guess in a way, the ones who are kind of going against your dad, they kind of looked at it like, oh, he was not a real Marine, but in his character, he actually made it more believable. He is like, when you see him do the acting, he makes it sound believable. I mean, I was fooled by so many years. I thought he was an actual military. I thought he was legit. I'm like, this guy's the real Marine, and then I find out it's not the case.
No, and I think he definitely did a lot for patriotism. I went and did Joe Fest with him, and in Augusta in June. And every single person that came up to him that was in a military background told him that they got into it because of him.
He was the influence too. There is a lot of
influenced them. Yeah. And so I feel like he's done a lot for the United States military, and I feel like he's done a lot for patriotism. There was a point in time, it's a long story, but he got on an airplane and some people came on with suits. It was Secret Service, and they asked him to move. They had to move his seat around, and so he did, and he moved, and then some people boarded the plane, and it ended up being former President Nixon, and he sat behind my dad, and then one of the Secret Service actually sat with my mom, and it was my dad's seat that they took, and they recognized my dad and said to my mom, do you watch wrestling? And she was like, yeah, I sure do. And he was like, well, do you know who Sergeant Slaughter is? And she was like, yeah, I sure do. You're in his seat. He's my husband. And so long story short, President Nixon ended up talking to my dad and telling my dad that he inspired him when my dad said the Pledge of Allegiance on TV, that him and a few other cabinet members that were at his house all stood up, put their hands on their hearts, and said the Pledge of Allegiance along with my dad that night.
And he's been having that ever since. So I guess in a way, he kind of inspired a lot of people to do this. I mean, there's always that influence, even if he isn't legit or not. At least he makes it very believable.
Right.
But I was fooled by this guy for many years. Man, this is just like watching you know how you watch those little cartoons and you think those are like or those actors who are really real and you think, oh, this guy's a real cop. Turns out he's just an actor.
Right.
like in some shows.
Right. He was good at what he did.
That's what's so good about it. So I guess for so many years, I've always kind of looked at the track record of all these wrestlers, and I thought he was a Marine or something. I looked it up and I said, nah, I guess he was an actor. Damn. Like I was like kind of fooled for a minute. I'm like, man. Like
he actually belongs to SAG. He has a SAG card and everything. So yeah, it was just a character that he played, and he's talked about how he came up with the character. He was because he had, in the beginning of his career, he tried a bunch of different gimmicks and none of them really stuck. And then one day he was watching a movie called The DI, I believe is what it was called. And that's where he got the idea of Sergeant Slaughter. So he's talked about how he came up with the gimmick.
Sometimes those gimmicks, when they start their other gimmicks and it doesn't pan out, you got to always try something different, and it can always be the best for you. But, interesting question. I have a question. Have you been on traveling visits?
So what does that mean? Have I been on traveling visits? I don't know.
I'm guessing like maybe as a kid when your dad was traveling, did you ever get a chance to go to his visits over there?
Yeah. So, we never went like out of the country with my dad anytime he's done anything like that. But when we lived in Connecticut and he wrestled like at the Garden or anywhere like around where we lived, we would go sometimes. We didn't go a lot because, it was kind of traumatizing before we were smart to the business to like watch our dad, like somebody try to kill our dad in the ring. So we didn't go to a lot of them when we were young, but we did go to some. And then as I got older, we really didn't travel. It was whenever he was like in, I live in the Charlotte area. So if the wrestling was in Charlotte and he was there, then I would go and be backstage and things like that. But we didn't really like travel with him everywhere. We couldn't because of school.
No, but there was quite a few of those controversial turns of event where he did turn heel and went into the other country, which was like, I think that's what got him the most heat was when he started going with Iron Sheik and started doing that. Like that was the most controversial. Like, how do you go from disrespecting your own country going to the other, like the Iran? Like
he was just fresh out of G.I. Joe. And Vince wanted him to come back to the WWE. And so he was like, well, this is what I've got in mind. And so they decided that he would be an Iraqi sympathizer. And they started doing it. And then Kuwait was invaded. And then all of a sudden we're at war. And so it turned into something that they didn't think, it turned into a lot bigger of a thing. They knew it was going to be big and have a lot of heat. But when we actually went to war no one was expecting that. I don't think, at least the way they tell it. And so, yeah, it took off. I feel like that was the greatest heel turn in wrestling history. Turning his back on his country. I don't think any other wrestler has ever had death threats on them because of their gimmick.
There's quite a few that had death threats with their change of characters. Like, but I don't know. Like, your dad had the most. I think that was the best heel turn in the business. I mean, like, how do you go from just being the country's hero into
real American hero
into a villain?
Right.
That's like going from Batman to Joker.
Right.
You can't make that up. So it's like, right. I've seen a lot of characters where they were getting a lot of heat and death threats, and there's a lot of them that like it doesn't get that big of a heat like it used to be. Like when you saw a lot of these other heel wrestlers, their promos and their gimmicks was something that people didn't like. It rubbed them the wrong way. Like during your dad's days of wrestling, when he was there during the 80s or somewhere around the 70s, there were some believable heels. Like you had Jerry Lawler in Memphis, where he was a believable heel. They hated him. They tried to damage his car. They like that's how much heat he had. Then there was quite a few guys during the early years. You had the Gino Hernandez during the 80s of the wrestling. He was so believable that everybody wanted to fight him back in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. That's how much heat he was. And then Bruiser Brody was such a monster heel. But you had a lot of these wrestlers that people were believing because they hated that person, and that's what made it so believable. But in today's wrestling, there's not quite a lot of wrestlers that you would just say, I hate this guy, I want to fight him. There's none of that character. It's just maybe the MJF guy, but that's it. Like, it's not too believable. Like, now you see a lot of these characters, they're all copying the same, but they're not really making it believable like how your dad did and quite a few other people.
And I feel like that's a shame to wrestling, actually. And I think part of it may come from the fact that none of them really have that much of a say in what they're doing. It all comes down from the higher ups. Their hands are tied. They can have ideas and want to do all these things, but if the WWE says no, you can't do it, then you can't do it. So, you know, a lot of the guys back in the day came up with their own stuff. My dad came up with Sergeant Slaughter. Ric Flair came up with the Nature Boy. You know, they all came up with that on their own. They might have had help, but, you know, my dad came up with that gimmick.
Ric Flair kind of came up with the Nature Boy, but it was originally Buddy Rogers who actually innovated that name. Like a little, like I thought he actually innovated it from the get-go, but the original person who came up with that gimmick was Buddy Rogers. So Buddy Rogers was the one that and then Rick
borrowed some of that
and made it into his own.
Right?
Yeah,
that's the thing, making it your own.
Making it into your own.
Keywords there.
Now you see a lot of these guys. Now you see, I guess Lacey Evans is doing exactly how your dad did it, but not in a respectful way. But a lot of it's becoming more copycatting. So it's like you see Jon Moxley doing exactly what Stone Cold does, but in an extreme weird way. I mean, MJF kind of gives you that old school heel, but not like the one where it just gives you death threat heats. None of that. But it's kind of like The Miz. If you think about it, The Miz and those two are pretty much the same, just the other one's younger and too cocky. But not too believable in today's wrestling. Like, it's hard to, like, for the fans, it's not, like, they're not really convinced with Roman Reigns. They're just not, like, some of them do like him, but it's like they're making him too much. But I think his heel run is the best. I think that's pretty much the best storyline they had in quite a long time is the Bloodline. That has more interest to it at this point. But now that you think about it, it's not the same, you know, like the other days. When you had the Attitude Era, that was watchable. When your dad was around, probably during the time when he faced Hogan and beat him for that title, that was probably one of his best runs when he beat Hogan for that title. Hogan was the top guy.
Yeah, I feel like wrestling is different now, a lot different now than it was then. And I hear that a lot from wrestling fans, especially like fans that have been fans for, you know, since before my dad and are still fans now. They're just like, it's just not the same. There's something, it's like the spark is gone, you know?
Yeah.
I don't watch, so I don't know.
I guess you don't speak on it as much, but whatever you hear from something, you just have your own thoughts of it. But then again, you know, that's either here or then. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more you're going to promote. I mean, you got this marathon going on. Is it like on a live show or something that people can check out, or is it just locally?
No, they do televise or they do stream some of the events, but nothing that's like the pros. I'm not at that level. So you can see it, but I won't be there. No, I don't think I would ever get to their level. I actually know the woman that podiums in my age group, and I've met her, and she is a freaking beast, and there's no way I would beat her.
So you got to acknowledge the fact that she's good right there. So it's going to be hard. It's like climbing that mountain, but I guess it's kind of like a long shot, but at least you get some of that little time somewhere else. I mean,
I do them for fun. But it's a good challenge, and, you know, to see what my body can do and how I improved from the last time I did it. And I actually had a dream that I rang the bell. So when you finish the obstacle in Spartan, you have to ring the bell. Otherwise it's not completed, and you have to use your hand. You can't kick it or anything like that. And so there's this one obstacle called Olympus, and I had a dream that I rang the bell there. So I'm like, well, we'll see what happens on Saturday if I ring the bell or not. It'd be pretty cool because that's one that I can't even get halfway across.
Oh, you got to climb that. That's like the military challenge right there. You got to climb it up, and you just got to reach it and tap it.
Yeah. So we'll see, but I'm excited. I'm always excited to do them. I'm always really can't wait, and then it starts in about a mile, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
You're doing it for fun. That's what you're doing. I mean, why you're doing it? You're doing it for fun.
Yeah. So it's just funny. Like that's what we all say. And then at the end, it's like you're so excited, and then you start to run, and then you're like, oh my God, why am I doing this? I'm torturing myself. And then at the end, you're like, I need to sign up for my next one. When's the next one?
Yeah, it gives you that energy. It gives you more of that push a little more. Like sometimes
there's this feeling that you get when you challenge your body to things that you didn't think that you could do. You know, you're looking at this, at least for me, I'm looking at this obstacle and I'm like, I have not been able to do this obstacle, right? I've done, 20 of these races or whatever. And I've never, like, this is the obstacle that I've never been able to beat. And then you beat it. Or you get further than you did last time before you fall. Or
so it's all about the improvement.
Yeah. I mean, you finally do it and you're like, I did it. I mean, there's like this feeling that comes over you. And then the very last thing you do before you cross the finish line is jump fire.
Jump fire, but jump excitement.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's a really cool feeling. It's a really.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll reach the bell. I mean, it just has to take that drive in you. You know, you got to take that drive. I mean, I mean, you've done pretty much a lot of competition, but you just want to reach for that bell without kicking, right?
Right. And, it's all in, it's me versus me. Like I'm not in competition with anybody except for myself and trying to, there's this one obstacle. It's called a spear throw. There's really no, it's just all in technique and how you throw it and your aim and stuff like that. Like it really doesn't have much to do with your athletic ability, except you're just throwing a spear. But it's so far away and there's this spot that you have to, a small target and, I'll hit it, but it won't stick in and, things like that. So it's like when I finally get the spear throw, like that's going to be a celebration. I do the men's weights in every obstacle that is a weighted obstacle. And so they have the red weights, which are for women, and then the black weights, which are for men. And every time I tell the volunteers, I'm like, can you please, instead of saying the women's weight is here and the men's weight is here because I'm doing the men's weight, can you just say the red is over here and the black is over here? Because I know there's lots of women that do the men's weight. And I'm sure there's lots of men that want to do the women's weight.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's challenging, but doing the men's weight, I guess you're going to lift the heavy one. So
that's where I excel, is in the heavy stuff, because I'm strong and I can carry a good load. So that's where I excel, is in the heavy carries.
Yeah. So as far as like bench press or anything with squat, what's like the most you've ever maxed out?
Well, I've actually just started this year in weight training and I've never tried to get my PR. I basically just go in there and try to do 5 pounds heavier every week.
So you're not really sure. You just go by the challenge. Okay. Because I know some people have that little challenge where they're saying, okay, this is my max I've done. I want to beat this one maybe in a few weeks or so. Or
I haven't really challenged myself there yet. I'm sure I'll get to that point. But right now, every time I go in, I try to go a little bit heavier than I did last time. So for squats, I'm at 170 for squats. I do 10 reps 3 times. And if I'm ever stuck on a weight, like if I've been, like, let's just say I'm at 170 and I try 175 and I can't get 175, then instead of doing 10 reps, I'll up it to 12. So I'm still getting a bigger workout, even though I can't up the weight or whatever. But I know I can do heavier squats than that.
But you just try to go with the amount of reps you can go. But I'm pretty sure with the squats, you can probably do a lot more than that. Like, man, I guess it's hard to keep track.
I haven't put 200 pounds on there to see if I could do it. I haven't put 225. I just haven't done that. I work out by myself, so I don't have I have to go find somebody to spot me. So when I am doing my bench presses and I'm doing 130 pounds and I have to find somebody in the gym that can
Spot
step
you.
away from their workout and spot me. Otherwise, if this happened the other day, I got down and it was like my last rep and I couldn't get it back up. And then I'm looking around like, help me. I need help. I just need somebody to help me with this one. And I saw a friend of mine. I was like, hey, help me. She came running over and helped me. She could barely get it up. But I needed the help for sure. But yeah, so I don't have like a workout partner that I work out
might need to start one at some point so you can actually challenge yourself on the weight max and all that stuff, because when you do that, that can drive you more into like want to do more lifting at that point.
Yeah. I do 110 lat pull downs.
Lat pulls, yeah.
110 at the back pull, the cables.
Or the backseat ones or something.
Where you are sitting down and you just pull them like this.
Yeah.
The cables.
And then there's the one where then there's the one where you can just do one like this right up here.
The triceps.
Yeah, the triceps.
So tricep extensions I can do like 35 or 40, I think.
Oh, that's good.
The over the head.
The over the head ones, yeah, those are the ones that usually help out good. But usually I do the shoulder press mostly because I just go like this. I do like wide or either just straightforward like that, and then I'll either try to go with the amount of reps. I'll even try to get a 35 or a 45 weight plate and try to like do it the right way, but try to make sure I don't hurt it as bad. Try to do like this amount of reps without hurting it. Yeah. Sometimes I'm lucky, but then there's days I might have to lower the weight and say, if I want to do 10 reps, maybe I'll do the 25, but my max out is actually when I do shoulder press, I can do like maybe 175 of it, just one rep of it, but it's big amount like that.
Yeah. Well, the thing with a max PR is you only have to do it once.
That's it. But it does test your strength. It does test your strength a little bit, like how much you can lift. Right. Like, even if you do 1 or 2 reps, that's still considered a max if you think about it. Because what if you, the most I've ever bench pressed was probably maybe a long time ago, which was 315 when I was maybe about like 200 at high school. But I was pretty strong. But the most I've ever squat was close to 400, but it was based by probably because I had too much energy. I was too physical. I was a little bit more of a hard worker. My brothers were pushing me a lot, and that's what got me more stronger. Even at 200 pounds, I was at least a little stronger than some of the guys. And there were some big guys on the team, but I was at least more better shape than some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a really big compliment the other day. A gentleman came up to me after my workout and just said that he had watched me and I made him want to go heavier and harder because whatever weights I was doing was more than he could do. And so it was a nice compliment. And I had a shirt on that says "Bad A is in my DNA."
Bad A is in your DNA.
Well, I don't want to cuss on here, but that.
Okay. Oh, I know what you mean. Now I know. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. And so he was like, your shirt is spot on. You are a bad A, And so I was like, oh, well, thank you. It made me like walk out of the gym like this a little.
I'm inspiring. I'm going to inspire people. Yeah. Maybe you're going to inspire me to go the extra mile too. Maybe I'll go back lifting again. Maybe that will be inspiring.
Yeah, do it. As we get older, we lose muscle mass. So we need to work out and lift weights the older we get, especially when you keep our bones strong.
Keep the bones strong. Don't get weakened and some stuff like that. But I do enjoy a little bit of these little bit of advice on how to get better shape and do a bunch of this lifting stuff. But as far as like lifting, got to go the extra mile sometimes. And sometimes those people don't want to go the extra mile. So you got to have that drive to go, because that makes you want to get better.
Yeah, especially when you do have a goal, like I want to bench 225, you know what I mean? If you have that goal and you want to do it, then that's something to work towards. But I'm a fitness instructor, so I teach a class at the gym that I go to. And so I do have to be careful with my body because if I hurt myself, I'm not going to be able to teach.
Yeah, you got to be more careful with it, but I can see why. Like I've done 225 many reps, but it's just like, if I wanted to go with the heavier one, I would go 225 because of the amount of reps I can do, but it's not like the lighter work. So that's why I try to go with the 25 or 35 weight thing just to do more reps of it. before I would probably maybe do 3 sets of 10 on a 225, but since I've kind of had some shoulder issues, it makes it more easier to do the lighter weight and do more light reps.
Yeah, you don't want to hurt yourself, that's for sure. Especially if I have a shoulder issue too, so I get a little nervous when I go heavier, and I feel it a lot when I do flies.
And then the dislocation part of it makes it like,
yeah. So you definitely don't want to hurt yourself, especially as we get older, because it takes a lot longer for us to heal.
It takes a while. Yep. It like a lot to heal. But when you're younger, you quickly heal. But
yeah,
the older you get, it just takes a while to recover. But yeah, pretty sure. But hey, it's been a great blast, catching up a little bit. It's been like, I think almost a year, but I don't know if you still do your podcast. I don't see no notifications. So you've been kind of taking a break on your podcast?
Well, this year we haven't really done a lot. This year I've just been super busy. My dad's been really busy. But there's the way when you look on my page, it looks like it's been a year since I've done something, but you have to go to the lives. I did a live video with my dad within the past month, I would say. That's the newest one, but it was live. So the way it groups your videos.
Yeah, some of them with the videos show it differently, but if you look at the live, it says not too long ago. But yeah,
So the pre-recorded I haven't done a pre-recorded one in over a year, but the lives are where it's at. Those are the more recent ones.
Okay, that's probably what makes sense, because I would always try to get a notification, and I always get the slow reaction. So I'm like saying, is she live or somebody else is live? Like, what's going on? How come I don't see most people doing streams? So I'm like curious, but I guess on your video it does say over a year ago, but then the live stream I gotta look at it differently. So.
Yeah, look at the live streams, because those are the more up-to-date ones.
Yeah, they are. Sometimes I do my live streams for guests. I either have a lot of wrestlers come on, or some athletes, football players, or other type of athletes. Like, sometimes I get a lot of them, but I'm pretty sure if I were to find a way to get in contact with your dad, he'd probably give me a big pop. He'd probably give me a big pop, because everybody knows who your dad is. That'd probably be a big blow right there. But then I had this other kid who's actually trained and actually going to be a really up and coming, but he's like, I guess he is a Umaga's son, but he gave me a lot of people were tuning in for this kid, because he's like, they looked at him and thinking that he is Jey Uso. He looks like him.
Oh.
Everybody thought, hey, that looks like Jey Uso out there. And I'm like, what? And I kind of realized, and I said, oh, yeah, he does kind of a little bit. But it's because he's part of the Fatus. That's why. But, yeah, a lot of the wrestlers, they get a lot of pop sometimes if they're still relevant. But I'm pretty sure if I had your dad on, everybody knows who he is. So everybody's going to want to tune in for that guy. But he's a busy guy, so he has his own events. But it's kind of hard to get in contact with his agent a little bit.
Yeah, you just got to reach out to Paul, and he'll run it by my dad, and, then my dad will give him his answer or whatever. But I don't deal with any of my dad's bookings. That's all through Paul.
Oh, yeah. It's all through Paul. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Sometimes you got to contact the agents most of the time. But
yeah.
But for everything else, good luck on your Spartan challenge. Hopefully you reach your goal. Hopefully you get that bell, and hopefully you feel great about it. Hopefully you feel great about it, because you said you keep dreaming about it. So why not you just get it for once?
Yes, I hope I get it this time.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a motivation. I'm pretty sure there's a lot there. There's got to be a lot to improve on. But for anybody else that's not too familiar with your content, tell everybody where they can find your social media platform and a bunch of stuff.
Sure. So on Facebook, it's Slaughter Daughter. You can find, that's my page on Facebook is Slaughter Daughter. You can find me on YouTube at Slaughter Daughter, and on Instagram, I am Slaughter Daughter Official. I'm actually on TikTok, the real Slaughter Daughter. And let's see, Twitter is @_SGT daughter.
Oh, yeah. I think that's where I seen the Twitter response from when you went at Lacey Evans. I believe I seen that one. Everybody was throwing it as a news, like, oh, a former superstar's daughter going at Lacey Evans. And then I found out it was you, like, oh, shoot. And then you kind of gave them the good punch response to those other fans. And I like how you kind of came up tough on them and tell them, hey, you're the one following me.
I mean, I don't think people realize that, like, I was talking to another wrestler's daughter about this, and I'm like, I just don't think people realize that, like, wrestlers' kids are a different breed. Like, we grew up talking smack. We grew up watching our parents or our dads talk smack. Like, my dad made a lot of money talking smack.
And
So,
you came from that same background, but you just don't get that. Yeah, I
right.
mean,
And it doesn't like bother me, like, what people say, because their opinions don't matter to me. Like, they're literally worthless to me simply because they don't know me and I don't know them. Like, the opinions that I care about are the opinions of my family.
yeah,
So unless we're blood related, I really don't give a F what you think
yeah.
or what you say about me. So, um, it really, I just think people think, but I come back at them. Sometimes I'm just like, whatever, and ignore it. And then sometimes I'm like, you know what? Screw you. I'm in a mood. So I'm
To
going to
give him
tell
back.
you right the F off. And, yeah, one guy was like, at the end of it, I did everything to him that he did to me, and he didn't like any. He was like, "Why are you treating me like this?" I'm like, I'm literally treating you the way you just treated me, and you can't take it." And one of the things he said was, "Oh, you and your dad can dish it out, but you can't take it." And I'm like, "Are you eating your words now? Because you literally cannot take it. You're telling
So
me
he's
that you
backpedaling.
can't take it." Yeah, I'm like, "What are you are an idiot."
It's like I get that sometimes. Sometimes when I try to question them, I try to say, "Are you backpedaling now?" Okay, I
Yeah,
guess I won that battle. Twitter is
right.
like kind of like a little up and down. Sometimes it's kind of like okay to get a little response, but then sometimes it's like, no point.
Right. And the most boring thing is when people just come at us for stolen valor. Cause I'm just like, okay, like, is there anything else you can come at us with? Because that's getting really old.
It's an old one. Like change it up or do something different for once. I mean,
Right. It's like that's your answer for everything. It's like, oh, stolen valor. Oh, stolen valor. It's just like, okay, can we move on to something else? Can you think of anything else?
do you think of something relevant or something more? Like
Right.
sometimes the old thing is like irrelevant for some people.
Yes. Oh, some guy said, somebody on Twitter said that me and my dad weren't relevant. And I'm like, but here you are making us
Talking about him.
relevant.
You're talking about him. So how is he irrelevant if he had actually the biggest gimmick in pro wrestling? Like,
Right.
and
How
then they're
are we
talking about
irrelevant
you.
if you're talking about me right now? Like, how am I irrelevant if you're talking about me? And how is he irrelevant if you're talking about him? But the thing is, those are people that aren't real wrestling fans. That's how I feel.
They're
Like,
just
they're not real
marks.
wrestling fans, or they're new wrestling fans, and they just don't get it because they're too young and they don't understand the way old school wrestling was.
Yeah.
And you pay respects to the people that came before you and paved the way. That's just the way it is.
That's what it was. Yeah. Your dad was like the foundation of certain wrestling. Like he was like the old school wrestling. He's the one that paves the way for a lot of these talent guys. So it's like, I feel like sometimes he does get a little underappreciated sometimes. And I feel like, a lot of these guys that paved the way, they don't get enough respect. And maybe that's why your dad didn't want to do it at the time because he didn't feel it was right. But for those wrestling fans that are not familiar with Sergeant Slaughter, you need to watch some old school matches with him and Hulk Hogan and some other matches with the Iron Sheik or some of those turn of events. I mean,
Pat Patterson, the alley match, which is considered the greatest wrestling match of all time.
Yeah,
that was my dad. But
against
the relevant, right?
Yeah, and he wrestled against Pat Patterson, who was actually one of the best workers in the business too. So,
and one of his friends, my Uncle Pat.
Pat Patterson, that guy was
a friend of our family. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. Twitter is like, I feel like Twitter just is where everybody goes to be a troll.
But then they push it a little too far with that game, so it gets kind of funny. It gets cute for a little bit, but then it just at a certain point. So, but hey, that's either here or then.
Yeah.
But hey, thank you for your time. We'll
no problem.
We'll definitely maybe keep it posted. Maybe we'll have something down the road, maybe next year or whatever you got in mind. Because I know you got a busy schedule. I don't know what I don't know what your schedule is. I know you got a pretty busy schedule, but for those fans, they seem to like to see you come around often sometimes.
Well, good. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, anytime. And for everybody else, she's outspoken and she speaks it like it is. And you got to respect it. So for everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in. And CG and Slaughter Daughter is out.
Bye.
Have a great day.